Okay, so I'm a Christian independent.
I'm an agnostic liberal.
And we're gonna see if we can agree on something. I do not support trans, but I do not hate trans people. And I believe everyone deserves the love of Jesus and the same respect that I would treat any Christian or straight person. So I do not support trans or LGBTQ, but I do not hate them.
When you're having a discussion about not supporting trans, I assume you mean trans rights. What do you mean by that?
Okay. So, real quick, which specific trans rights are you talking about? The right to transition medically?
Yes. Okay. So let's go through a couple things.
Sure.
You first off just have the right to
Call yourself trans?
Yes, to call yourself by a different name.
Okay.
To refer on documentation and stuff like that as a different gender.
Sure.
To identify as that different gender, to present as that gender. That I think most people would put in the category of social transition.
Okay.
So the right to social transition, basically.
Okay. Starting with social transition, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I support American freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You have every right to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. I mean, if legally a straight person's allowed to change their name in the court, I don't see why a trans person can't do the same.
Yep.
You are allowed to think and to believe. You're allowed to feel that you were born in the wrong body, the wrong gender. I do not agree with that idea. Here's where I'm at.
Okay. You're addressing it in a very respectful way. So
here's where I'm at.
Good.
When a guy tells me that he feels like he's a female, like he's supposed to be a female, and he feels more comfortable as if acting like a female or more feminine.
Yep.
To me, that doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But I understand that the feelings are real.
Yeah.
In the same way, as a Christian, I tell someone that I believe a man rose from the dead.
Yeah.
I believe a person died for my sins. I understand how crazy that can sound to a lot of people. And just because I don't believe that like I do, that doesn't mean the feelings and my faith isn't real.
Yeah.
So I understand that their feelings are real. That doesn't mean I think it is real.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So first off, and I think this is a good benchmark, number one, just so that we're on the same page, and number two, because I think it'll allow people to, recognize this as a more good faith debate.
Okay.
There is some subsection of people that are like, trans people are lying to get into bathrooms or to be pervs or whatever. It sounds like you're not there.
No. One, if you're going to be a perv, you're not going to change your gender. You're just going to be a perv.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really...
Yeah.
I don't understand that argument. It's just it's very weak.
Yeah.
What you're really arguing is I just don't want things to change, which to me that's more of a respectable argument.
It's just that when you get there, that gets into kind of fear mongering about trans people and about sexual deviance.
I do not believe in that, and I don't believe in demonizing people. Again, I do not hate trans people. I just don't support you. Okay. I understand. I do not believe they are lying about their feelings. I believe the feelings are real. I believe you feel like that. I don't believe you were meant to be a different gender.
Okay.
So if you're born a guy, I don't believe you were meant to be a woman. But I believe you might feel that way.
Okay, so for one, it is because I've heard Christian people say this before, and I'm curious if this is some of it. I've heard Christian people before say that they don't believe in something like that because to say that you were born supposed to be a male or female or the opposite gender or whatever is to insinuate that some kind of mistake was made, and that isn't how that works, because number one, God doesn't make mistakes, and number two, maybe they just don't think that can happen. But baseline, is that where some of this is coming from?
Yeah, I don't think there was a mistake in the gender you're born into. Okay, I think it's science.
Okay.
Yes, God doesn't make mistakes, but the science is the study of God.
Okay.
You're studying the world God created, right?
Okay.
Science decides your gender. Biology, DNA, the things that I'm not professional in. Obviously, I'm not claiming any of that. And I believe that decides your gender. I don't think there is accidents in being born in the wrong gender, because it's science.
Okay. So, first off, again, kind of in the category of clarifying your terms, there's an ongoing discussion about trying to utilize language about sex versus gender.
Okay.
Where sex is...
I'm going to say, I do not understand. I've had people explain this to me, kind of the same thing, but please explain it.
I will try to explain, and I can understand...
because they used to be used in kind of the same way. What's the sex of the child? What's the gender of the child? Right? It was used in kind of the same way. Now so many people are telling me that it's different.
Yes.
I do not understand how it's different, but please explain, and we also have any sources online.
Yeah. I think the reason that you don't understand why it's different is because it necessitates that you accept that there is some kind of difference between having XY chromosomes and being male.
Sure.
The idea is that sex is having XY chromosomes, having the penis, having increased testosterone, all those kinds of things. Whereas gender and the gender male or boy is the social construct around, like, boys like playing with trucks. They don't wear dresses. They have usually short hair. This is a bad example, but they have usually like shorter hair. They don't do makeup. All those kinds of things. That's like more in the gender. And there's another real quick. There's another kind of sub theme about just like, what do you view yourself as? Because I think if you think of yourself, you're like, I am a boy. I'm a male. Would I say that's accurate?
Yeah, I'm a guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's not meant to be like a trick question or lead question. It's literally just like, I think you view yourself that way. And there are people who, despite the XY chromosomes, they like think of themselves and they're like, I don't think I am a guy. And that's the thing you were talking about earlier. So the real distinction is basically between scientific XY chromosome, yada, and the more social, vague construction about gender as a concept.
Okay, so...
Does the difference make some amount of sense?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Here's where I'm at. I do think sex and gender are related. How we talk about it in a social sense when it comes to gender, that's where there can be disconnect. If you're born with a penis, I believe your gender is male. Okay, I believe those things are intertwined. Those are related. But when we say you're male, it's social perspective that puts you into categories like, oh, you like trucks. Oh, you like sports. That's social stuff. Okay. But scientifically, if you're born with a penis, you got XY, you got these chromosomes. Yeah. I think your gender is a male. I think those correlate.
Okay. So, I'm gonna.
Do we need to?
I think we're gonna need it next time, actually.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up what I think is a very common argument for this kind of thing.
Okay.
And also I think is going to require some research for both of our ends.
Sure.
So you have the question of intersex people.
Okay, yes. I have thought about this.
Okay.
A lot.
Okay. And this is part of defining your terms.
Yes.
Because when you say XY chromosome equal male, then you get into the intersex people who have, the
male and female reproductive parts.
who have male and female, or have all the qualities of being female, like, their body physically is almost entirely female, but then inside they have like testicles.
Okay.
Like, that's a thing. And is that person not a female because they have testicles?
Okay.
So what are your thoughts?
I'm not saying that I believe this.
Okay.
If there was an argument that there is more than two genders, the only argument that would make any sort of sense to me, not saying I believe
where
it,
they fall?
is that a third gender would be like an intersex gender. Okay. If you're born like that, it's out of science. And to make sure that, like, I'm not contradicting myself, science decides your gender. Okay, if you're born intersex, it's because science. It wasn't something, weren't place. It's just how things happened. Now, obviously, I'm not a scientist, so I don't understand how it happens.
Yeah.
But that's just science. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's usually some kind of genetic mistake.
Okay.
Because in science, mistakes do happen.
Sure.
When DNA is being replicated, sometimes mistakes get made.
Okay.
And things happen. That's how mutation happens. It's basic science stuff, but like, it is a mistake. And I think even if you ask most intersex people, they'd be like, yes, like on a genetic level, this is a mistake. It doesn't make them worse at all. It's just, it is.
The problem for me, and maybe it's because of social norms I grew up with, not just in like being Christian, but also just like growing up, they taught male and female.
Yeah.
Okay. You're either born male or female.
Yeah.
And you add in intersex, which just because it's a small minority doesn't mean it's not a thing.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean it should be ignored.
Yeah.
Do I count that as a gender? That's where I don't know.
But if, when you're talking about societal discussions, and there is, however, here, I'll just, so, I mean, of an entire global population, 1.7%, we're at 8 billion people?
9? No, we're at 8.
We're at 8. That's not something we need to Google. It's something like that. That
is higher than I thought it was.
You can't just ignore that.
Sure, yeah, it's a real thing. I'm not trying to.
No.
I'm not trying to ignore people.
When that 1.7% exists, you have to say, okay, there is something other than male and female, or maybe in between or whatever, and then you have to ask the question: if we recognize that that exists, then why can't a more quote unquote mental condition, such as, because I am willing to say that on a scientific level, you would put gender dysphoria / transgender as a whole, but usually it's diagnosed as like gender dysphoria.
Like you don't know?
Gender dysphoria means you have a kind of, it's a discomfort with your like biological gender. It's like a dissonance. It feels wrong. I am, if you're willing to say that intersex, which is like a genetic condition and like it's not really a disorder, but it's a different condition, is real. Because it is. Because like it's real.
It's real.
Even if it wasn't the 1 point, even if it was 0.5%, it is real. You can look at it and go, oh, that person. Then you have to go, well, then this mental condition could also exist, and they could fit into that category.
Yeah, so gender dysphoria, I'm not saying it isn't real. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
You can totally be uncomfortable in the gender you are.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. The feelings are real.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Were you meant to be born a female? I don't think so.
So let's say this in the difference between sex and gender, which you somewhat understand at this point, or you at least understand the basic.
I understand your concept and I understand my thinking about it.
Let's use mine for a second.
Sure.
If there is somebody who is saying that gender-wise they are male,
okay,
while sex-wise, biologically, they are female. They have XX chromosomes. They have boobs. They have whatever.
Yep.
And they don't fight you on that. If you say you are biologically a woman, they say yes. But I feel like I am a man.
Cool.
It makes me more comfortable.
My honest reaction is cool.
Okay.
That's cool. You can feel that way. You can feel that way.
Okay.
If you're asking me to accept that scientifically you're supposed to be something else, no, I don't believe that.
Okay. And that is I think, because all the discussion about should trans people be in the opposite gender body, from a science perspective, were they meant to be? Most of that is about gender dysphoria. It's about the concept of gender dysphoria, because it is the grounds to all of this. It is, I feel uncomfortable / wrong in this body, and I feel like it should be that other way.
And that can totally be a feeling, but the problem for me, my first thought is, you feel that way now. But 40 years later, maybe you feel like you're supposed to be a guy. or you're supposed to be a woman. And I'm not saying the feelings are wrong, but feelings change because we're people and people change. So if you're 19 and at that point you feel like you're supposed to be born somewhere else, 50 years later you believe you were born in the right body, then you kind of eliminate your thoughts when you were 19. Because how can you be supposed to be something else and then 50 years later you're also supposed to be what you are?
I have definitely heard this argument before, and I'm gonna be honest, it feels very weak because that's not how, like...
It's just my first line of thought.
Yeah. If I want to be a teacher,
okay,
right? And I am taking steps in my education, in my, planning, to be a teacher. If 30 years from now, I decide, no, I don't want to be a teacher, actually. That doesn't mean that I didn't want that, and that doesn't mean that those feelings were wrong.
Right, no.
And it doesn't... Because I think my assumption, I was assuming, so correct me if I'm wrong. My assumption is that the way you were going down is that if in 50 years you might feel differently, you shouldn't make irreversible bodily decisions, like surgeries and stuff, or even maybe social stuff. Is that roughly correct?
That's not where I was going with it. I mean, it's obviously on topic, but it wasn't where I was going with it. Okay. I'm just saying, you believe something, you feel this way now, and you believe it to be true.
Yeah.
But since we're people, our truth changes.
Okay.
And because we're people, we change. But things that the thing that's not going to change is your biological, how you were born. Like how you were on day one, that's not going to change. But your thoughts about it are going to change. I don't know if that makes sense.
But what if they don't change?
Well then, damn me.
Because
if they don't change, it's still, to me, it's a feeling. It's a feeling.
I guess where my question leads to is, okay, it's just scientifically, let's label this gender dysphoria.
Okay.
Let's say, and I don't necessarily believe this, but let's go along with this. The concept of being born in the wrong body or whatever, you were meant to be a woman, but you were born as a man. That doesn't exist. Okay. All that exists is the scientific gender dysphoria condition, in which someone feels uncomfortable in the body they are currently in. And so someone has gender dysphoria, and they want, because they have gender dysphoria, to present and act and be addressed as whatever, as someone of the opposite gender.
Yeah.
Did you have a problem with anything in that hypothetical?
No, it's your right.
And so the thing that I think is funny is I don't really think you have any issue with trans rights.
No, I don't think did I say I had truth?
Or you said you don't agree.
I don't agree with scientifically believing that you are supposed to be in a different body. That I do not agree with. I have no problem with people expressing their rights as an American to do whatever the hell they want to do.
Yeah, at the heart of it, whatever the technical, I think, at the heart of it, whatever the technical definition we give it, whether it was you were supposed to be a male but instead you were born female, or whatever that is, I don't think at the end of the day that really matters.
No.
At the end of the day, it's just, are you willing to address this person in such a way and treat them in such a way that would make them more comfortable and happy in life?
I'm never gonna go out of my way to do something that makes someone uncomfortable. If you want to be called a she, but you're biologically born a guy, I'm not gonna go out of my way to call you a guy.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if I mess up, I would hope you have the same respect that I have for you to just either correct me nicely or ignore it.
Absolutely.
And if you correct me nicely, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm probably most likely just going to end up calling you they or them. Just something, because that's just language I use.
Yeah,
I call you they or them, but you identify as a guy.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just call you they or them because that's just how I speak. and I'm not going to go out of my way to say something to make you uncomfortable. So when it comes to the idea of just trans rights, we agree.
Yeah.
When it comes to the idea that someone could convince me that scientifically they're supposed to be born in a different gender, no, I don't believe that. And when it comes to the idea that a child should be able to drastically change their body and have effects that might affect them forever, I don't agree you should do that. Now, that goes into laws about age and whatnot.
Yeah, and so here's a point where I think it is very interesting. Okay. What age do you think it is okay for someone to decide that they want to, let's not even do something drastic like surgery. Let's say HRT, hormone replacement therapy.
Right.
What age do you think it's, and the thing, let me make this clear, I don't know, like...
I don't know a lot. We don't know a lot.
I don't know a lot about HRT as a thing, and whether, like, I to my vague understanding, HRT is one of those things that you can start doing,
and then get off of.
And then if you stop, it will, like, the effects will go away. But if you do it for, like, a year or two, then the effects become, like, more permanent. Because, like, your body has, like, fully start like, you'll start, like, growing. It's... So to my knowledge, it can become permanent, but it's not necessarily permanent. But even, so let's say it is permanent. What age do you think is okay to start something like that? And I'll throw in here real quick that I think a lot of reasons there's so much discourse about it is because I know for HRT and puberty blockers, the big thing is that if you don't do it before, like, I think it's before you're, like, fully through puberty or something, then it can be really hard to, like, start it.
Okay.
And it can be really, because your body's already done its thing.
To answer, what age do I think is appropriate to start HRT, puberty blockers, things like that? Yeah. Again, so here's where I'm at. As a person, I do not have a right to tell another person their rights. Okay?
Well, I mean, let's say you were voting. That's the thing.
If I'm voting on it, if we're being honest, I would skip the vote. I do not.
That's interesting.
I do not have the right to tell a 19-year-old what to do with their body. Okay, if you were throwing around a word, when do you think is the okay age?
Yeah.
I would say, as someone who just doesn't support it, I would say never. But I'm not going to stop you from doing it. So there is, I
like
have,
in the sense of you would never do it, and like you wouldn't.
I would never stop someone from doing it. We gotta apply our own laws, so you obviously have to be above 18. I don't think children should be allowed to do that. But and then we also get into, like, I think, oh well, you can join the military and die when you're 17, things like that.
I mean, that's true. But, you said it in a silly voice, but
it's true. And you get into those arguments, and I think that needs to be changed and addressed as well.
Yeah.
But baseline, I don't think children should be able to make that decision for themselves. And it's also, okay, it's your right as an American to make that decision and change your body like that. And like you said, in this theoretical scenario, these effects last forever. Okay. Again, at some point you might feel differently, and you might feel the same throughout your whole life. But the idea of your identity might change as you get older. And to me, it would be a shame if you accidentally put yourself in a position where you're stuck with these HRT effects that you gave yourself when you were younger, but now you don't think the same way, but now you're stuck like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people, they'll go their whole lives and they'll
be happy with that.
Yeah. And that's your American right.
Yeah.
There's no age I could put on it, just anything above 18. I do not think, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't encourage people to do it because I don't support it. But if that's truly how you feel, go ahead. And I will not judge you for it because I understand those feelings are strong.
Yeah.
We can just do a pause vote.
Alright, while I initially agree with you on the idea that minors shouldn't, be making potentially irreversibly damaging decisions, the sense of like kind of urgency is the only thing that leaves me sort of on the fence. I'm gonna Google another thing. We don't have to pause it because it's not. But I think part of it is that, like, in a lot of states, things like tattoos can be legal to 16 with parental permission.
And that's
I think
stupid.
I think 16 is kind of the youngest that I'm willing to even begin to argue for. Once you get younger than that, it gets really hard for me to, like, in good conscience.
I mean, we're evidently children, especially in this generation, are more emotional, and I would say, for better or for worse, but in this context, worse, because what I'm trying to get at is suicide rates are up. Okay. We definitely have more emotions, and our generation definitely struggles with these emotions. And then we have things like gender dysphoria, and we so hardly believe in something because we're just more emotional. And those emotions are valid and they're real, and you might feel this way now, but it doesn't mean you always feel that way. So I wouldn't say like a 16-year-old could start HRT just because you're not mature. And we can see in statistics that we are not more mature. Because taking your life is not the mature decision. It's a terrible decision. And that's skyrocketing, right? At this age, we are not making good decisions, and a life-changing decision like that, and I'm not trying to compare like suicide to HRT.
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I'm using that as a statistic I know that shows that we make big decisions at young ages.
But it's interesting that you brought up the suicide thing, because this is something that a lot of people have said, and that quite a lot of suicides in one way or another are because of like gender identity related things, and that can the more I don't know, the harder to deal with one, at least to me emotionally and also societally, is that a lot of trans kids never even get to the point of even maybe mentally registering that they're trans. They just feel wrong, and their influences, maybe their parents, maybe their social network, whatever, hate and reject and spurn the idea of this like gender questioning.
Right.
But if you want to like push it farther, I think that a lot of those people are having such extreme body dysphoria, gender dysphoria, that they would like some alternative, like one of those therapies. The main point is, I agree with you that those really important decisions are not made with enough prep, with enough I don't know, proper care a lot of the time. One of the things about hormone replacement therapy is that it's not just some over-the-counter thing. You have to get like diagnosed. You have to see professionals and do like, a lot of the times they'll consider like therapy and counseling as primary options before you even start to begin to discuss hormone replacement therapy. And if something like the suicide rate is really important, then something that helps those kids who are in a vulnerable point in their life, who are going to make rash decisions, feel more comfortable and feel like they have more control of their life. Because a lot of the time, suicide is about feeling in control of your life. Doing things that will help them feel more in control of their life, and promoting those things to those who could use it, seems like a good thing. And I want to bring up real quick, because I just was looking it up, about whether they are, whether puberty blockers specifically, I don't know about HRT at a young age, but puberty blockers specifically are reversible, which I know has been a big like thing.
Yeah.
People saying they are, people saying that those people are lying, whatever. What I'm seeing is that the main side effects are like typical medication side effects. It looks like you also have like concern with bone growth, bone density, fertility, depending on when it started, which can be concerning. I'm also seeing some stuff about like there's depending on if you use it like very early in puberty, it can like affect the like male reproductive organs in some bad ways, specifically ones that would actually impair gender affirming care, which is kind of interesting. And then like the bone density thing seems to be a lot. However, I mean, this is from mayoclinic.org, which most likely a biased source, but they are professionals about it, and they do say that this is usually used on people like 10, or it can be used on people 10, 11, that might be later, to delay puberty so that it can give more time for decisions to be made. Which seems in line with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It does delay puberty at a young age, and then it allows those people to have more time to really think about, to age and mature and decide if this is right for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that teens and kids aren't in the position to make that decision, then this seems like a good alternative.
Right.
And I'm sure that there's side effects.
There is, right now, the first thing going into my head is that I'm clearly biased. There's
bias all around.
I have a huge disconnect because I've never felt like I was in the wrong gender.
Yeah.
I could not imagine asking someone to block my puberty. Being honest, my body kind of did it to itself. It was like, no, you're gonna have to wait a few years until you're 16.
Have to wait until like mid high school.
So I've never had a desire to do anything like this. So there's a huge bias and disconnect. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine recommending a kid who is thinking about suicide because he's not being accepted in his family, and he's hearing so much hate rhetoric about something he feels. He feels like he's something else, and he's hearing so much hatred against it. And I get how that could just destroy a person.
Yeah.
My first thought wouldn't be let's affirm your feelings of let's change your gender, stuff like that. That's not my first thought. I don't even know what avenues I would take. It's just I know that's not my first thought. Yeah. It would be other therapy. And
but that's the thing. It isn't the first thought.
Yeah.
So I want to make that clear. Yeah. I don't think that there's always like extremists, but I think most people would agree that if a kid goes, I feel like I'm in the wrong body, the first jump isn't, well, let's get you on puberty.
And that's where people are like, no, they're killing the kids. That's the first one.
The first desire is therapy, is extensive, conversations, and to really because when a kid says, I don't feel right in my body, that could be gender dysphoria, or that could be they saw someone who was cool on TV and they're like, I want my body to be more like that. It's a kid. And even a teenager. Teenagers are notorious for having body issues. Mm-hmm. Bringing gender dysphoria out of it, I mean, teenage girls are like the number one demographic for having horrible body images.
Right.
Which is a terrible societal thing, but and so by no means should that be like, you said you're not happy with your body.
Let's change that!
No. But it being there as an option for those who need it, for the small amount of people who need it, I truly don't see like the harm, especially when you're talking about these kind of, and I know we were talking about the hypothetical, especially these ones that are reversible. Mm-hmm. Are there potential side effects? Yes. That's life. If you go through life trying to shield everyone from potential side effects that their decisions will have,
you're not gonna get anywhere.
You don't live. I mean, bringing it back to the career thing, by by choosing my career in teaching, there are other doors that I am closing. And in 50 years, if I'm like, I really want to be an astrophysicist, and I didn't go down that path, then like, that's a risk, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't go down the path that I currently feel.
You want to know honestly where I'm at?
Yeah.
Here's where I'm at.
Okay.
I think what is keeping me back from saying you're 100% right. I see the logic. I really do see it.
Yeah.
It's my ego. I think, I don't know if ego is the right word, but there is something keeping me back from just saying you're 100% right, even though you have a great argument. It's, in this moment, I cannot think of something to trump that, right?
Trump.
I can't think of anything. But
you know there's something.
I'm not willing to concede that I think a child should be able to change their gender or to start puberty blockers.
Okay. I think I already know the answer, but I just want to make sure so that we are on like somewhat the same page. You do like. It sounds like from everything you've said before, you have no issue with like social transition.
I have no problem. I have no problem treating you like a person.
Yes. And I think there's a lot of discussion about this, but I feel pretty strongly that like teens, when you get younger than teen, you get into like some difficulties for me, but like teenagers, if they want to socially try to transition, the main thing that they are risking is like reputation, and teenagers mess up their reputations all the time. So if they feel like that would help them live better, then I think that's great. I think that I definitely agree with you that surgery at young ages is like no. I think most surgeries, and I'm not educated enough on this, but most surgeries aren't super time sensitive, to my knowledge.
Right.
And so I don't see a real reason for like you need to be having those like before you turn 18 or whatever. But I think it is really interesting that it is such an action. There is two sides to the bit. Because even though you're saying you can't think, your base argument of you can't make such big of a like life altering choice. I see it. The issue with that is that it is reversible, but like there are
I think
side effects
we were
problems.
Earlier talking about if it wasn't reversible.
Yeah. If it wasn't reversible,
but I took the same stance as even though it is reversible.
Yes. I think that there truly is an argument there. And I don't even know 100% what side I'm on, but like, because I'm looking at 10 or 11.
Right, and that's like such a young age.
That's so young.
And to start like a medication, to me, like.
But like, you wouldn't stop a kid from taking like ADHD medication.
Exactly.
And that's
the problem. Like the idea of medication has such a negative connotation to me. Even though like modern medicine is miracle workers.
Again, and I just want to highlight, even though I'm the one arguing for it, I'm looking at 10 or 11, and I'm like, that is so young.
That's a little.
But if it is pause puberty and let them think about it for longer and potentially have some negative side effects that aren't negligible. The bone density stuff, I mean, you can take vitamin D. I was reading, you can take vitamin D stuff to try to like alleviate that. But like, that is a genuine risk. But that versus you want to talk about permanent and irreversible. If you make the choice not to do that, that is permanent and irreversible as well.
I'm thinking
like if you're comparing it to tattoos, which you were like the fact that someone can get a tattoo. Imagine if it was a tattoo, except the law is, or people are saying you shouldn't be able to get a tattoo before you're 18. But if you don't get a tattoo before you're 18, you can't.
Sucks to honest.
I know you feel that way probably because I don't think you want like any tattoos. But if someone felt passionate about like a tattue, then that would be like,
that would suck.
Exactly. That'd be like, well, what is this?
I gotta choose or never choose.
Exactly.
To me, it's like, why is this kid thinking obviously when you start puberty blockers, you're trying to your point, you're trying to give yourself more time to think, which I think is that's like yes, okay.
Yeah, good job.
Think more, please. Just think. If you grow up in hateful rhetoric, a lot of people end up coming out the opposite side of that rhetoric. And I don't know. I'm just thinking.
But a lot of people also say that if you grow up around like,
hey, you're gonna become hateful, and I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Here. I do not understand how a child could feel that way.
But that's because you don't have gender dysphoria.
Exactly.
And if you want to view it, because I think you were on a good path. If you want to view it similar to asexuality, intersex, as a condition, it's a condition you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
One way or another, that kid has that condition.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously you can't relate to that because you don't have the condition. But that doesn't mean the condition isn't real, and it isn't like because I've heard this before. It's like, oh, well, you are like this because your parents were insert this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, and I mean a lot of stuff about how like you're trans because your parents like didn't love you enough.
Yeah.
And I think like statistically there might be some sort of like some correlations, although I think that's more of a correlation, not causation kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the reality of the situation is that if you're a trans kid, you are just more likely to, in the world we are in right now, if you are a trans kid, you are more likely to face not great feelings from your parents.
Yeah.
Because it's such a divisive issue. But like, even if that was the case, that doesn't change that there is a solution there, especially with puberty blockers. That is just like giving you more time.
I think my final thought on this specifically.
Yeah.
I have no good argument. That's just the truth. But I don't think there will be a part of me that's willing to say that a 10 or 11-year-old could start puberty blockers.
Yeah. I guess
that's just where I'm at.
Here, are you okay with me pushing you a little bit on?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I think that is. I want to start it off by saying that recognizing that you just simply don't relate at all, and therefore it's hard for you to have a good, like, it's just kind of more of a gut thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's just because you can't relate at all. That is like good at being able to recognize that. The problem to me is that when that gut feeling that is based in yourself
Mm-hmm.
is making it so that you, to bring up a past example, I was saying if you had to vote on something like this, you said you would sit out of that vote.
I would.
The fact that because you can't wrap your head around it personally, even though all the arguments for it you do agree with, I'm glad you wouldn't vote against it either way.
Yeah, but if you're not voting, you're not like helping.
If you're not voting, you're not helping. And by not voting, the problem that I have is that you aren't actually taking the stance of like, oh, I couldn't decide this for myself. You're taking it's the jump.
The stance of I think
of
you're
you
right.
Don't get to decide.
Okay.
Because that's the big thing for me. It's not a one-to-one comparison. But I think that it's a good enough comparison, not at all in ethical things, but in my own personal things. Using abortion as a argument for something that I feel similarly to you about. Most arguments that I've heard for abortion being something that people should have the right to choose, I agree with.
Yeah.
To me, fundamentally, somewhere in my heart, I feel like abortion is wrong. I would never. I mean, I couldn't have an abortion. abortion, but I wouldn't want to have an abortion. If there was someone who was like around me who was pregnant and was thinking about having an abortion, I wouldn't like shame them or anything, but I would like be like, hey, why are you feeling like that way? Maybe we can find some other alternative. However, to me, I think it's important that they have the right to choose. And so if there was something that was like, here's this thing to vote whether people should be able to choose that or not, I would vote that they can choose it. Because even though I somewhere fundamentally don't agree with it, I also recognize that it's not a struggle I can relate with. And it's not something that I really have too much of a say about. And so I should give that choice to the people that do. Which is the individuals.
So, based off of your argument, that as of now I do not have a better argument, not saying there isn't one, but I do not have one, and I can admit that.
Currently, yeah.
So, and to not contradict my ideas about freedom, because I believe we're Americans and we have the right to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Would I do not like it.
Yeah.
But I would.
When you bring kids into it, it does make it.
It makes it so hard to say that I would let you that I would vote for them to have the right to do it.
I mean that's the hard thing about morals. Is there an objective, cold, hard, factual reason currently? No, but you do feel the way you feel, and I'm not trying to invalidate that at all. I'm just trying to push you to think about how, you know, if we really want. Freedom as a concept is so difficult because
what do we allow everyone to do? Because we all have different ideas of what freedom should be.
And sometimes when you live in a free country, you have to look at something that people are doing and go, I don't agree with that,
right?
But they are free to do it.
Right. And I do that with some things, but this is just something that I struggle to deal with, and I recognize that.
And I think with most people, when it comes to kids, it gets really difficult because they feel
it's a kid.
It's a kid, and they can't make that decision.
Right.
Really. But at the same time, like, they are still a person, and they should still be able to have control of their life. That's
yeah. These are the stances.
Yeah.
We've ran through it.
Yeah, I don't think there is, just like you were saying, I don't think there is like a definitive answer or anything. Right. It's just...
It's a really interesting topic.
Yeah.